How did you get to New York City?
Oh, man. So I tried to find an apartment in New York City from Philadelphia. I couldn't find it. So I got on Airbnb, which had just became an app. And I bought an Airbnb for a week. And then I sold everything I owned in Philadelphia. And I came to the megabus stop with one big suitcase. And I said, I'm moving to New York City. And the guy in the megabus said, you can't take a suitcase that big.
Oh, shit.
And I was like, but I'm moving. And this is everything. This is the moment.
That's what I got.
You've seen it in the films. It's happening live. I need this back. It's everything I own now. And he's like, oh my God. And I was like, we're going to make it, kid. And then, I just megabused to New York City and lived in that Airbnb for like maybe 2 weeks until I found a spot.
What preceded that? What triggered the move?
I'm very funny, but I'm also very analytical. I'm very logical. I love good reasoning. And when I first started comedy, I was looking around Philadelphia, just looking around, and I was like, yeah, there's not much here. There was one comedy club at the time, the Helium.
Yeah.
It was obviously, this was pre-internet, clipping. It was catering to people who could really move tickets off of the strength of their name. And I just felt like I had hit a ceiling. I had done every show. I had done Helium quite a few times. I had opened for Bill Bellamy and people that were really dope coming through. And I just knew I didn't want to do that for 10, 15 years. So I said, my benchmark was, once you have 20 minutes of material, let's move. Because maybe I'll fail, but let's get started.
Yeah.
Let's not keep spinning and get comfortable,
When did you get into comedy?
I think that was 2013. I always knew I was a comedian. I think the first time I had the fully formed thought, I was 7.
Really?
Yeah, for sure. I remember that day in particular because I couldn't wait to get home from school because Martin Lawrence, one of his specials had just dropped on HBO.
Yeah.
And I knew in my mind I had almost memorized it. I had maybe another 5 minutes to go. But I said, I'm almost finished. I've almost got the bit. And so I was excited to go home and finish that last 5 minutes, memorize it, and then perform it, which I used to do all the time. I would just stand up in my living room alone, and I would perform it. And that day, when I finished it, just saying it out loud to nobody, I had a second where I felt like the universe spoke to me. And it only asked me a question. It said, why do you think you always do that? And I remember being like, who is talking to me? Oh my God, get out of here. Who is in this house? What is in this? Martin Lawrence, what is in this? And I still denied it for years and years and years until I went to an open mic when I was 23, maybe 24. And it was undeniable that night. I was like, this is something. Things were clicking here. That was natural. That's real. You're allowed to do that now if you want to do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
What were you trying to be? You said 23 or 24. I'm assuming you were on another trajectory.
Yeah, I had I was a year past graduating. I had got a degree in advertising because I was like, I'll get a funny writing job, a funny advertising job. I'll write funny commercials. That was me trying to reason with what I already knew what was true, but trying to be rooted in reality. You can't just be a clown. You're crazy.
Yeah.
Go get a degree. And so then I could not find a job in advertising to save my life. And I just probably spent a year really finding myself smoking crazy good weed. I had moved to Michigan for a little bit and then moved back to Philly. And in Michigan, I really was just out in nature and just sorting through the deepest questions of life. And I think I was motivated by fear, which was, what if you wake up and you're blessed to see 80, and you wake up and you're like, I wish I had told a joke. I wish I had been more silly. I never had the courage to say the silly things. And that terrified me. I was like, man, you can't waste what are you going to do? I was so good at so many things. I was so smart. I was such a good student. I was a great worker, but it was a lie. And I was like, I don't want to live a life that's a lie. So let's go see if this is a thing, because I just didn't want to lie. That was the thing. I was like, man, I don't want to pretend to be something that I'm not. I know that I am this. And every job I had, no matter if it paid good, no matter if I was good at it, it was a lie. And I could feel that every day. I could feel that I was lying.
Did the weed help get to that truth?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because it like broadened my imagination. And there's something about just like smoking weed and being in nature. You know, I'll write a book about it one day. It just, you connect and you start to really think about what's important. What's like the universal truth? Like, oh, you're supposed to be here for something. I'm looking up at the stars and I'm like, what is this all for?
Yeah.
You know? And I had been a foster kid. This would jump into my childhood. So I had a really hard life. I had put myself through school and beat all these odds. And I was like trying to toy with like, why was it so crazy? Like that was a crazy story. Why did it play out like that? And I think I latched onto the idea that it was that difficult to prepare me for what I'm supposed to do. And I couldn't be able to speak to people with confidence, and I wouldn't be able to share my ideas, and I wouldn't be able to be silly and find humor in places that it's not usually if all of these things didn't align. And so am I going to spit in the face of the universe or God or whatever you believe in and say, well, that was all for nothing and I'm going to go get a desk job. I'm going to go be a writer for a stupid... I was like, no, honor the things that you went through and let's live your highest good. And then after trying that, if you fail and you're not happy, then we'll go get a job. We'll go back to school. School's like, I remember telling myself, school's not going anywhere. You can go back and become a doctor if you want.
Yeah.
But let's go clown around while we're in our 20s. You know?
So that life story, the experiences you had maybe had molded you to become the kind of person that could go and make that decision to make the jump. Yeah.
And not to sound so old, but when I was in Philadelphia and I started comedy, I was one of 2 women.
Wow.
And one of them had been there before me and was kind of like grandfathered in, but I was going to the open mics and, 40 people would sign up and I would get there on time. I would be the first person to sign up and they would put me last because I was a woman, because they didn't know me. And so this was weeks and weeks of getting there early, waiting for hours, watching people go, getting in my feelings about it. Then I go last and the janitor's like, she was hilarious. The bartender's like, man, that girl was really good. That was just me and the janitor in here. But she was really good last week. And then it became, they moved me up 1 and 2. And I think like a lot of people quit in that phase because it takes so much out of our ego. It really like, we have these grand ideas about how good we are. And then we realize the length of work. And so I was really prepared to face adversity, to keep showing up. And to trust that even if they didn't like me, they didn't want to be open to me, that they were going to come around. And they did, for sure. It didn't take long before the buzz started to build. And I was first on that list. Oh, I didn't remember. I got to a point where I never had to sign up on the list anymore. I could just walk in. And still to this day, that means a lot to me.
You said 23 or 24 is the first time you tried it. I don't know how well you remember that first go at it, but were you nervous? Did you feel comfortable? What do you remember?
Terrified. I had gone to an open mic, but it was a multi-genre open mic in Philadelphia. So I had gone to watch my friend play the piano, but they had like poets and rappers and various things. And he called me and he said, I don't know if you want to still come. It's $20. I didn't know, but it's $20 to get in, which is a lot for an open mic. Yeah. You don't even know if they're going to be good. Yeah. So I pay to get in to support him. And then the host says, hey, we need somebody to fill a slot. We have somebody that's running late and they're setting up and we're going to just be sitting here waiting. And I was like, well, sign me up, but it was one of those moments again where the universe was saying, are you going to do it? Because look how these things are falling into place for you to do it. So just do it. And let's see if we have something. So I turned to my friend and I said, yeah, sign me up. And before I could say, no, I'm just kidding, he was gone already. He had got up, he had found a pen. So then he came back, he said, what are you going to say? And I was like, I don't know.
Something.
Oh, man, that's a good question. Well, thank you for asking me. What am I going to say? But at the time I had worked at the Philadelphia airport. I was TSA.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, man, those people are crazy. I mean, I had stories for days. I was like, I just picked out 3 people and decided I was going to tell the story of those 3 people. I have nothing written down. Wow. I have no set list. I have nothing. They call my name, and I never forget this. I remember getting up and walking toward the stage, and I remember only thinking, move your left foot, move your right foot, move your left foot, move your right foot. And that's how terrified I was that I could only focus on moving my body, or else I wasn't going to get there. I wasn't even going to be able to get up there, let alone think about... I said, when you get there, we'll think about what we're going to say. Yeah. But just get yourself there. And then I remember getting underneath the light and feeling like, you know exactly where you are. This is home. This is where you're supposed to be. It's natural. And still I was scared, but I think that's part of my personality, is that I can be very afraid of something and I will still walk towards it. You know, somebody can scare me and I'll still shift to get a little closer, because I'm never going to be paralyzed by fear. You know, I allow myself to feel the feeling. Yeah, it was scary. Let's try to take a deep breath. But yeah, I just willed my body to get me there.
Once you were up there and you're telling your feet to move, did the fear evaporate? Was it still there? Do you remember a moment where you said it feels like home?
Yeah. It took me a little bit to settle in.
Yeah.
You know, I think you can hear in someone's voice when they're like thinking a lot and they're nervous and it's, where do I usually even talk? What does it sound like? So it took me a second to like settle in. But once I think I got a good laugh, and I remember this girl who was like a poet, I don't remember her name. She had done a poem before me about like her son or something, and she had cried through the poem.
Wow. And
I remember looking at her, glancing at her in the audience, and she was laughing but wiping the tears away still from earlier. And that really made me feel like you got something good here. Like you're jumping on an energy that's really like capturing them. So just keep this cadence up and keep talking like you know what you're doing. But I didn't know what I was doing. Like I couldn't recreate that set today if I wanted. You know, I was pure.
Yeah. You said eventually you didn't have to be on the list.
Yeah.
So there obviously momentum built after that. I don't know if it was after the first go or after your few, but I'd love to hear about that trajectory. What do you remember about that?
It took me at least a year after that first time getting on stage to take it seriously. Because I think like a lot of people, especially in that era, I was thinking like, I just need to get one good tape and show it to Ellen. And then you're good. Yeah. That's, you know, this is like Instagram had just became a thing. You know what I mean? So it was like, oh, I just need to I'm hilarious. I'll just kill like 2 or 3 times a year and then I'll blow up, you know? And then I started to realize like, no, you're going to have to like commit to this. It's going to be bigger than a hobby. It's going to have to become your life. So it took me about a year to like commit to it. And then I just went to the open mics. I kept doing those multi-genre open mics. I think that was the difference between me and a lot of other comedians. I didn't just go to comedy open mics. I would go to whatever type of gathering if they were going to let me get on the microphone, and that helped me double my minutes so that when I did go to the comedy open mics, I would hear people say, wow, that joke was way better than it was last week. Or wow, she's jumped like 4 steps. Like I could hear them trying to theorize how they were watching me grow so quickly. But yeah, I just built buzz. It got to the point where everybody was saying, wow, this new girl, Chanel Ale, man, she kills. I even remember one of the comedians saying that he would get nervous if he saw me come into the open mic because he knew that whatever I had written that week was way better than whatever he had written. And he was like, you started to set the standard to where it was like, we had been bullshitting for a while. And then you came in and you were like, I'm going to kill and I'm going to be consistent. You're going to see growth. And I also became like, you know, a scientist about this. Yeah. Each joke became a little piece of art. And every week I was very meticulous about working on it. Now we're going to say a different word. Now we're going to try a different inflection. I'm going to whisper this part because I think it'd be funnier if I whisper here. So each one became this little experiment where I'm plugging things and pulling things and just not just saying it and seeing whatever. I'm going in with a plan and I'm being very methodical and I'm trying to make it as good as it possibly can be. And you know, when you're the boy comedian groups can be a circle jerk. Yeah. Where you're like, yeah, bro, that was really funny. And it's like, yeah, but that's because it sounds like something you would say. You know what I mean? You're not really helping him grow if you just keep saying that every time. He can't be funny every time. Sometimes he should be bombing. You know, sometimes you need to try something that's brand new. So yeah, I just built that buzz and then came up to New York City a few times and then just decided, like, let's go.
Did that feeling of home endure? That this is where you're supposed to be. I'd love to. It's such an interesting moment when that happens for people. It's like, it's almost like an epiphany. It kind of is an epiphany. How did you know that this is that this is home? I'd love to hear you describe that in any way that.
It is really difficult to describe. But I obviously remember that first time, but I still feel that way almost every time I get on stage, and I criticize my comedy students, because I teach comedy class, all the time about not staying in the light and not being able to feel when the light is on your face, because you can move out of the spotlight, right? And then people can't see your expression and they feel less connected to your performance. And so I really seek out the light and I lean towards it to make sure that they can see all of my expression, how my face is moving, how I'm perceiving things, the subtleties in my expression. But it kind of felt like imagine the crazy sounds of a city, and then you go into this like closed box and now it's this eerie silent, like it's soundproof. It felt like that. Like as soon as I stepped into the light, the crowd noise or the whatever was in my head, like it just, it stopped. And now we're here and we're present, and I'm getting so like ethereal in this. I felt like my soul was kind of like connecting to this light and it was pulling the thing out of me, right? Like the light was creating this pathway for me to amplify my message or amplify my vision and my ideas. And I was more so speaking to the light than I was to the actual people in the beginning, for sure. But yeah, it still feels like that. I even dated this guy once who like, he lived with me for a long time, so he really knew my ins and outs. And he would tell me that he could see a difference on my face before and after I got on stage. Like he was like, when you get off stage, the way you smile is very different. You are just a ball of joy. It's like, it's contagious. You know, he would say to me, I can tell you had a really good set tonight because you are just like, I can barely even look at you because you're so bright. And it really is like, it's a powerful energy. You could take it and put it in your pocket, carry it with you. Not for, it will evaporate over time. Yeah, but it's really powerful.
But something was deeply aligned.
Yeah. And I always say that, like, think about the setup for stand-up comedians. It's this elevated stage, this light, this sound system, this microphone. That is the same setup that dictators use. Cult leaders. Preachers, rock stars, politicians. And that's because we know this is what communicates the message on as high a level as possible. This is how we really connect. And so comedy is like the top tier version of that. It's connection on like, it's humanity. You know what I mean?
So you come to New York. Did you have connections, job opportunities already waiting for you here?
No, but I had a few Philly comedians who had jumped ship before me. Chris Cotton was one of them. Rest in peace. He's a comedian who passed not too long ago, but has a great Comedy Central special. Derek Gaines, Monroe Martin, obviously mostly guys, but they were doing all the top clubs. And Philly has this way where it's like, you can't really just hit up somebody from Philly and say, hey, let me, I moved here. Can you help me?
Yeah.
You can't say that, but you can say, hey, I just moved here and I see you have a show tonight. Can I come hang at the show? And you can ingratiate yourself that way. So that helped for sure. I mean, if you ask any of the comedians in Philly, or in New York, they'll tell you that the Philly comedian crew are very tight. Like they are killers. They look out for each other. So it helped, but it definitely wasn't any handouts, I had to really recreate the same thing I had done in Philly, which was hitting the open mics, building buzz until I got on the independent shows and until the clubs started to call.
What were the big breakthrough moments for you? I mean, when you could tell it sounds like you kind of started back at the bottom again.
Absolutely. I restarted.
What do you remember about the signals you were getting from opportunities that were coming your way that made you feel like you might be onto something here? I
remember just people saying, that girl from Philly, have you seen that girl from Philly? Or like, you must be that girl from Philly. I've heard, and it is like the buzz in the industry. You feel it. People know when somebody who's good just dropped into town and now they're making the rounds. But one of my biggest, I would say, like pillars was that Michael Che had posted on Facebook that he was doing a round of shows and he wanted all female openers. And he was like, who has been killing it in the New York scene? I don't really know, whatever. And so a bunch of people commented my name. And I didn't even see that this conversation was happening because I'm very busy. I'm out here killing it. I'm not checking Facebook to see what Michael Che is thinking about, right? And so he hit me up and he was like, hey, can you open for me? And I don't know. I think maybe in Philly he was going back to do something or something. And I told him no because I had already booked a Women in Comedy Festival. And he was like, that's not even like, you're not, I wasn't even headlining. He's like, you're not even going to get paid much. Like, what? Why would you do? And I was like, integrity. And these women, they've posted my face on a flyer. I'll feel terrible to cancel on them. And so I felt so stupid when I got off the phone with him. Like, you idiot. What are you doing? And then like 2 days later, he called me back and he said, what about Caroline's in New York City? I'm going to headline that. Can you open for me then? I said, yes. And I had never performed at Caroline's. I wasn't really in the clubs yet. I was just below the surface. Yeah. So opening for him at a weekend of sold out shows in Times Square in New York City at Caroline's was absolutely a pillar that established that, okay, Chanel is one of the really good comedians in New York City. And she can be trusted on as big a scale as possible. And I think an agent hit me up the next day, like, hey, I was there and I saw you opening for Michael Che. You're very funny. And it just really solidified my position in New York City. Yeah.
While you're doing this, how are you surviving? Are you taking odd jobs? What are you doing to be able to just survive in New York and pay the bills?
Well, I was one of those people that was working from home like way before people were working from home. Yeah. I actually was one of the first customer support people for Uber. I helped design a lot of the automatic responses that you get when you file a complaint. So I did that for a while and then I got laid off and that was like devastating because I had been 1099. So I couldn't get unemployment and I was like, I had just moved here. I went on Craigslist. I found a lot of writing work. Like a Brooklyn newspaper hired me as their lead writer for a while. It kind of felt like I had invented that job. I couldn't even believe I had found it on Craigslist and was making good money doing that. I was doing background work. Sometimes I did stand-in work. Like eventually you start doing stand-in if you do it for a while and you're pretty good. But nothing like too crazy. Every once in a while I might walk a dog. Yeah. But yeah, definitely like whatever I could do to survive. Well, my last real job was with OkCupid. I did the same type of customer support for the app, which was wildly stressful because people were trying to find love. And I'm at home smoking weed, trying to email professionally. But yeah, that was the last job. And then I got laid off. When I got laid off from that job, they gave me severance. They had like laid off our whole team. And I think that was like 2017, 2018, maybe 2018. And I remember that day when she told me I was fired, I was like, no more jobs. Because I had already gone down to part-time. I was part-time working from home. And I was like, Chanel, no more jobs because you don't have the time to focus on this. And you need to like jump. You can't half jump. Yeah. You get to a certain point. Because I think a lot of comedians think, oh, I'll just wait until I have everything aligned and then I'll quit working. And it's like, you're devoting time to a corporation every week. That's going to take something from you. Yeah. If you put that time into your own corporation, then maybe you can get there a little faster. So yeah, I told him I shut down my LinkedIn, which felt crazy. I shouldn't have did that. I should have just transferred it to a comedy thing. But yeah, after that, I said no more jobs.
Did you feel like your comedy at that point could standalone support you?
No. I mean, I had done the hard numbers on it. I was making about half the money I needed to make, like for my student loans and for the odds and ends. But no, for sure. But I think that's like a part of chasing your dream is that you can't even imagine yet where the money's going to come from. Right. And so I did a stupid show in Brooklyn, in Bed-Stuy at a coffee shop. And there was maybe like 11 people in the coffee shop. Everybody's bombing. It's a surprise show. A lot of people didn't even know there was going to be a show there. Yeah. They're trying to enjoy their book. We're doing comedy at them. I go up, I kill it, because that's my mentality. No matter what the show, I'm going to try really hard to be funny. The next day, this guy messages me on Instagram. He says, hey, so random, but I was in that coffee shop last night and I'm a producer for Girl Code on MTV, which at the time was like one of my favorite shows. And he's like, hey, I can't get you an audition. We already cast it. But if you do like a self-tape at home and send it, I'll show it to the director and see what he thinks, So I went home and I did my makeup and I set up the lighting and I set up the music and I said, hey, I'm Chanel Ali. Welcome to Girl Code. Today we're talking about frenemies, And I just made up an episode and sent it to them. And I'm like, what? This is crazy. And then I got cast on that show. And I remember being on the train. This was 2 weeks after I sent it in, being on the train and telling myself, okay, you haven't heard from them. You're going to have to let that go. that was the L that we took, but let's keep fighting and let's stay strong. And then they emailed me and said, you're welcome to the cast of Girl Code. And I remember just crying on the train in New York City, bawling immediately. Also at the time, I think they were offering me like, I don't know, like $700 an episode, which was more money than I had ever seen to even calculate that. I was like, what? I'm rich.
Yeah.
For 3 months, I'm rich, you know? So yeah, I just cried so much and nobody in New York City cared. Nobody even looked at me. Nobody asked me if I was okay. And that was just like one of those big moments where I was like, okay, so you're not going to know where it's going to come from. You can't have it all planned. You're going to have to just keep showcasing your skills and being in the right place. And then it will manifest.
And what is the lesson there? Is it just that you need some faith, you need some belief in yourself, you need to work your ass off? What did you do? Like, what if somebody came to you for advice and they're at that moment of trying to decide whether to jump and they've got the talent and you believe that they do, what would you say is the right mentality and habit structure to really give yourself a shot?
I think you have to have some faith for sure. Like, it's okay if you don't think that you're Kevin Hart funny yet. It's okay if you don't think that you're the top, like you're going to change the history of comedy. But you have to like believe that you're funny. And you have to start somewhere small even. Like, I believe I can do it. And that can become a mantra that you say out loud. Sometimes we need to convince ourselves over time. We have to stop saying negative things like, oh, I don't have the money. Oh, I don't have the time. Oh, I don't have, because when you live in that energy, you devote more energy to being broke, to not having the thing. And then I always say that comedy is an equation. And the equation is, if you are killing consistently and your career is not moving forward, then you're not killing in the right place. You're killing in a place where it's a tree that fell in the woods. And it's great that you did it, but it doesn't matter. So if you're in the place where all the opportunity is and you're performing consistently and your career is still not moving, then you're not killing. And I think like you have to be hungry. I always say this, and I judge comedians very hard on this, is that sometimes I'll watch a comedian do a set and they're good and leaning in, but they're not trying to kill, you know? And I'm trying to kill. I want everybody in here to feel what I'm putting down and to like feel the power in my voice. And I want this to be a moment. And that's what takes a booker beyond seeing you on the next show, but sees you in a movie and sees you on a TV show. And, you know, like you have to shine that light from the inside. And sometimes it starts with lying. You have to lie to yourself and say, I'm so good. I'm the best. It's all blah, blah, blah. And you know, you can hear in your voice. I don't believe that. part of what I just said, I didn't believe. But you have to do it enough until you do.
So what came next? You're cast in this show and you get a little bit more financial security.
Yeah, I get a manager. I became a JFL new face. I went to Just for Laughs in 2019. Thank you so much. That was another really big pivotal moment. I think I had auditioned 1 year prior to that. I had killed the audition. When I didn't get it, I was destroyed. I could not believe it. I was like messed up for 2 business days. That's how long I'll allow myself to be messed up. But just could barely like think without crying. And I couldn't understand it because I had killed so hard. I was like, what could they be looking for that they didn't see in me? Because being a new face is like Shane Gillis and I were new faces the same year. So once you get that credit, it's really like the industry knows you're on your way. And so the next year when I auditioned, I didn't write a set list as tight, and I told myself I was going to tell the jokes that I thought were the silliest ideas I had, and it wasn't going to be what I thought would impress them, just things that I like, things that I think are really funny. And so I did them, and they were random jokes. They were random collections of thoughts, and I got JFL that year. And it just taught me like the power of believing in, you know, your silliest idea, your world that you're going to paint, and that it's okay to be different. You don't have to like try to align with what you think the booker is going to want, you know? But yeah, I just worked on a lot of different projects. I got like 2 Comedy Central specials. I got an hour special on Epics. A lot of that was from my first manager, her pitching me to things and seeking things out. I voiced the main character for an Audible series. That was really inspiring and really dope. And I just started to kind of like allow myself to see that I wasn't just going to make money from like doing a comedy spot. I was going to make money from writing and performing and acting and editing, and like all of those skills are billable. And that helped me understand more like how I could see having a career.
And I would imagine that being in New York City, actually physically being here, I would think you would believe is crucial to that, of actually being present.
It is. And I hate to sing that old tune because of the internet and people seeing a lot of people just popping up from wherever. But I do think that there's a certain amount of artist development that we all need. And unfortunately, it's not going to come from a place of comfort. And I always say this because I met this comedian in Philly once who's very funny, but like has no career. And I asked him why he wouldn't move to New York. And he said, well, I own a house in Philly. And I bought a house and I live there with my cat. And, you know, I own a house. I don't want to leave a house that I own. And I was like, good. You like the house? He said, I love the house. I said, you feel comfortable in the house? He said, I'm so comfortable in the house. I said, good. Because you're going to die in it. You're going to die in it. You're going to work your whole life to try to pay off that house. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. And one day, after you're done vacuuming up your cute little house, you're going to pop your hip and you're going to bleed out slow on the floor. And you're going to think to yourself, I should have moved to New York City. But yeah, I think it's like if you're in a place that's not comfortable to you, you're going to find parts of yourself that will grow and amplify. And the New York stages, it just makes you this is the comedy capital of the world. I think I feel maybe differently if I was interested in acting or like that was my main thing. But in terms of comedy, there's no other city in the world, and trust me, I have traveled the world, where you can do as much comedy in a night as New York City. And comedy is only minutes. It's very different than any other art form. You can stay at home and practice the violin all fucking night, but you can only do comedy as long as they tell you can do it. In the beginning, that's 3 to 5 minutes. So I always compare it to basketball. Like if I passed you a basketball and you wanted to practice with it, you wanted to get really good, and then after 5 minutes, I said, that's it. Come back next week. We'll see what we can get you. It's going to take you a long time to get good. So if you're sitting in Utah and you go and you get 5 minutes a week at the, I don't know, the stupid saloon.
The Mormon Comedy Center.
You're going to not feel much growth, and you're also going to get down on yourself because it's terrible. And that prolongs the artistic journey that you got to take. So yeah, I think like if you want a strong foundation as a comedian, once you have a couple of minutes from wherever, I think you should come to New York City and devote at least a year to your artist development.
All those different unknown avenues of financial support that you talked about, doing the Audible series, the show, it was a lot of that just pure serendipity that can happen in a place like New York City. Was it from your manager?
Yeah.
How a variety of different ways. When you look back, what are the ways in which those just popped out of nowhere and came to you? To your point from earlier, you need to, when you make the jump, you're not going to know necessarily where that's going to come from to allow you to survive. How did it in retrospect?
I think a lot of it is buzz, and that comes from being consistently good.
Like a great reputation, basically.
Yes, a great reputation. And I read a book by Steve Martin I always recommend. It's called Born Standing Up. Incredible book. And one of the most important lessons I took from that book is that, you know, killing here and there is whatever. But if you can be consistently good, that will last you a long time. And there's a lot of corporations and entities that hire entertainers, specifically comedians, and they pull from a list of, you know, reputable sources. Yeah. They pull, like last year I booked the Movie Trailer Awards. I was presenting an award there. And I asked them, how did you guys find out about me? And they said, I was in a Vulture like list of top comedians of the year. And they were like, we just hired the top 10. And I think I was number 2 or something like that. And so like, that is an avenue. Once you get accredited in a certain industry, you just become one of the people that they know they can trust to do various things. But yeah, I think it's like comedy is an industry. We've seen it shift in a lot of different ways. And even just this interest in like the Kill Tony and the Netflix AF, Funny AF series, like you can see that there's an industry that exists on its own. And when we bring it back into like the whole pop culture conversation, the highest skilled workers, they're going to get the work every time. So yeah, you have to just build the buzz and then be available, be accountable. I dated a musician in Philly. I hate to give credit to him, but he taught me like how important it is to be on time. I used to go with him to gig, and he would tell me, oh, I can't book this guy again, this drummer, because he was late, and he didn't tell me he was going to be late, and we have this, and we got fined, and I could see that, like, oh, you have to take your business serious. It sounds like, oh, we're just going to tell some jokes and be fun, but it's like, no, I need to be on time, and I need to respect the time that I'm allotted, and I need to make sure that I'm like, not alienating a crowd or making people suicidal, like I need to actually bring joy and be consistent about it. So yeah, that once you start thinking like that, it helped me also be more entrepreneurial and seek out. So it's a mixture of seeking out the opportunities. I pitch people all the time. Like I said, I send a lot of emails per week where I say, hey, I could come do your thing. Or, I book out in advance. Like today, on the way here, I booked a gig in October. And I was discussing like, hey, you guys got to get my flights and you got to get my hotel. And like, let's buy it now while it's early and it's cheap so I can get the rest of the money that's included in that contract. So it's like, it's business,
You said earlier, I think you used the word commitment, that at one point you realized like you're going to have to commit to this. There's no sending a tape to Ellen and then you're famous all very quickly. And you also talked about jobs that I'm sure at one point you didn't particularly want to be doing, but you did.
Yeah.
Has that been difficult as things have gotten easier for you to get work? Is that commitment still easy for you to provide to the art form? Is that something that is still palpable to you, or do you find it's like any lifestyle creep where you get more money and life's easier and you stop working quite as hard? Like, do you still feel like you have that, kind of, I don't know,
tenacity to,
that you did at the beginning?
It ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
It ebbs and flows. I think like part of being an artist, especially a full-time artist, is that you are processing a lot of emotions. Yeah. And the entertainment industry comes with a lot of rejection, And so there are times when I'm feeling very inspired and I very much believe in whatever idea that I'm currently pitching or producing. And then there are other times when I'm like, this is stupid. And I can't work on this today, or I got to come back to this joke. I'm not getting it. I'm not catching the energy or the vibe that I need. But it is work, Sometimes I have to get up and do a schedule. Like I'm going to make something to eat and then I'm going to try to write for an hour. And then I'm going to go take a walk and then I'm going to go back and look at what I wrote for an hour. And then I'm going to post a clip and then I'm going to edit another clip and then I'll go do a podcast and then I'll, take an hour off. So it's like nobody's checking my timesheet to see how much commitment I had towards my dream today. But I am going to check it and I'm going to know that if I didn't plant the seeds, that next month I can't say, well, I don't have any shows and I don't have any work. And a lot of comedians think that just by being good, the industry will just call. It just will. And sometimes it will, but sometimes you have to lean in and make sure they don't forget about you, because there's lots of funny people. There's lots of talented comedians. Most of them come to New York City. So if you're competing with the best of the best, then you're going to have to like devote yourself to the work. Yeah. Do
you find a love in that? Even though I'm sure a lot of this is tedious, but it's still great because it's aligned with, I don't know, a mission, who you are.
Yeah. I mean, obviously there are parts that sometimes are annoying. Sometimes I'm like, dang, I flew a lot this month. This is a lot of airport time. But there are other times when it's like, oh, I've been working on this joke for however long. And just yesterday when I was catching the vibe and I was at home and I was just talking to myself, I fixed it. I found it. I figured it out. And then I did it later that night and it destroyed. People couldn't stop talking about it. And yeah, it is really joyous. I even, I've gone viral a lot in the last, I would say 6 or 7 months. And, I'm figuring out that business as well. And so I went viral on TikTok. I recorded a front-facing video of me telling a funny story. And then I typed it out and I posted it on Threads and it went viral there too. And then because I have different photos on TikTok and Threads, the audiences thought I had stole from myself. Yeah. So I'm getting these threatening messages like, you stole that from that girl on TikTok. This is not your story. You're not funny, and this is not original. And I'm like, hey, that's me. And they're like, oh my God, sorry, girl. But I did have your back. This is your intellectual property. And so when you watch people like have a passion for, you know, a silly thought that you had and you packaging it for different audiences, it really inspires you to be like, wow, this is something. Like this work is something. I'm inspiring people they're trying to fight me about me.
Yeah.
That's connection.
Speaking of inspiring, who are the comics who inspire you? I mean, who's working right now? Specific to New York, if some come to mind that you just adore, you admire them, you think they're great at this.
So many, but Yamanika Saunders is very like high on my list. She's hilarious. I like Anthony Moore. He cracks me up. You know, we started together in Philly. Derek Gaines, another Philly comedian. Dang, there's so many people. Emma Willman, she kills me. Jared Freed, I tour with him sometimes. Yeah. He's just so nice and so supportive. He'd be like, you should say that shit. That shit you said in the Uber earlier, you should say that shit. I'd be like, what did I say? You know? But I also think, when I really think back about, Marina Franklin, love Marina Franklin. And I just did her podcast the other day. And that is such a wild thing because before I became a comedian, I remember watching her and Amy Schumer and like a couple other women who were on this like HBO special. And I remember being so inspired by Marina specifically, being like, wow, that girl was really funny, man. And now she's like texting me and she's like, hey, come do my pod. And she's inspired by my work. And I'm like, whoa, crazy. So that's a great full circle moment. But I always give a shout out to Wanda Sykes, like no matter what. Wanda Sykes influenced me so much and really just taught me like the power of there being space at the table. If you're a good writer, you're a good performer, you know. I think she was responsible for so many like even great Chris Rock moments. You know, I think she was a writer on his show. And then I also always give an honorable mention to Steve Martin, My Affirmative Action. Love Steve Martin. That book taught me so much. And the movie The Jerk, when I was a little girl, I remember just watching that movie and being like, they're so silly. There's a lot of adults saying nonsensical things. He's white. He's in a black family. It doesn't even make sense. And they're clearly making money. And it inspired me a lot. I was like, man, if I could make money and get paid for being silly as an adult, I remember thinking that could be a good life. That could be really nice. Yeah. And also just like comedy's mad cool, you know? I've even walked by people, you know, at a comedy club and then, you know, they see we're going to the green room and they're like, dang, I wish I could go with y'all. Yeah. And you can't because we're doing drugs back here. You can't come in here, you know? So I just love that. There's so many parts of being a comedian that I just really, really love.
What's next for you? What are the goals? What are you looking to achieve now?
You know, I had an off-Broadway run last October of this one-woman show. It's like just me for an hour talking about my life and how I became such a badass. And it's a crazy story. It culminates with the fact that I booked a commercial a couple years ago with 23andMe. They tested my DNA and told me I had a brother that I didn't know about.
Oh, shit.
And so I hit up my brother on 23andMe. I was like, hey, right? And so he's a really nice guy. And we got together and realized that we have the same dad.
Wow.
And my dad is a cop. So he's a cop dad who just, you know, because I didn't meet him till I was 18 either. So this is the second child that he has been, you know, made aware of. And I wrote a show about like being the beginning of truth in your family and in your lineage. Like just, this is where we stop lying. And we tell the truth about what we did and we take responsibility and we like move forward with hope and love. So I recently wrote that, turned it into a pilot. So I'm shopping that around now and I hope to maybe even shoot some of it. I've been doing some voiceover. I'm touring a lot. But yeah, I'm just kind of like just living the full-time artist life. You know, I have shows every day. Lots of dates on the calendar. I think I'm actually going back to the Movie Trailer Awards end of May. So yeah, just a bunch of stuff. Yeah.
I always love to close with asking guests about how they think about the word success. Yeah. And you've come a long way from when you started just to have this much work. I mean, must be so rewarding. But when you think about the word success, what does that mean to you for, you know, your life and your career too? What does that look like?
To me, I think success really kind of circles on being able to look back with humility, whether you succeeded or failed, but being able to say, I gave really good effort and I didn't betray myself. I tried to make something good. I tried to put more good into the world than I tried to create division. And that is success to me. You know, when I first started comedy, I never thought somebody would say to me, oh, you inspired me so much and you're the reason I started comedy and you're the reason I started going to open mics. And lots of young women have said that to me now. And I really appreciate that, the weight of that responsibility, because not just for women, but people in general, I want them to like speak up for themselves, to trust their ideas, to trust that their silly is quite silly. So yeah, for me, success is a culmination of like having some authority in the comedy world, but also just knowing that I put out a lot of good. That if there's a track record of all I've done, it's mostly made people feel good.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and also a nanny. If you ever see Chanel Ali's having a kid, that's a double announcement. She also has a nanny.
Oh, let's go. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks for having me.